Well, good morning. How is everyone this beautiful morning? Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with all of you this morning. Reverend Janice was a institute student with myself as we were with at home, so I feel it an honor and a privilege to come support all of you this morning, and as you are moving forward in all that you will be creating for calling in your new minister. So thank you for having me here this morning. So this morning, I am going to speak to all of you about letting go of the masks that we wear. And this follows our topic for the month, which is cultivating authenticity. You know, sometimes it's hard to be who we really want to be because there's so many outside sources working. When you look at it, you have, of course, those that, rely on the biblical sense. Then you've got those people that have conditions of how you should be. And you have this sense of, well, I really want to be this, but I feel I can't. So what's going to happen is I'm going to play the part of who these people and institutions want me to be. And so living authentically creates uncomfortableness. And not only within ourselves, but it creates this uncomfortableness with our friends and our family and people we know because of these personal conditions. And as ministers, we have this phrase of, we comfort the afflicted and we afflict the comfortable. And we do. And that happens a lot in our lives, is we don't realize it, but we're afflicting those people that are uncomfortable with who we have come here to be. So how do we go through and be who we are becoming, or who we already are? And so Ernest Holmes has this great phrase. He says, there is something which awaits only our recognition to spring into being, bringing with it all the power in the universe. All the power in the universe. That is your divine self. That is who you are, this divine love, this divine presence, this divine energy that is trying to bring forth light, to spread light. So cultivating authenticity is not about becoming something other than who you are. It rather involves releasing those patterns of thought and attitudes and actions that actually create barriers, that limit us, that really don't allow us to live, as they say, out loud. Now, I understand most of us have some volume issues. We either live really loud, or we live really quiet. That's our authentic self. So how do you arrive at a balance of being not too loud and not too soft? How do you create that balance within yourself that you said, yes, I'm okay for showing up in the world the way I am? So human beings, for whatever reason, because we have this concern about being bigger than life or smaller than life, we create these characters. We wear masks. So in your family, you're a person. I know for me, I was the experimental child, the first one out. So of course, I have a role to play. And I had 2 younger brothers. And of course, they watched me being who I wanted to be. And mom and dad were like, no, because I was always pushing the envelope, always pushing that ceiling. And this is funny because years later we had this conversation as adults, and my brothers, they told me one day, they said, we watched you. And we'd look at each other and go, don't do what she's doing. So that's how they learned. And of course I blazed the trail. And being the girl, of course, I had some barriers. Mom and dad, I wanted to drive. Yeah, we'll let you drive. Well, I didn't drive till I was 18. My brothers get in there, they're 15 years old. Here's your learner's permit, go. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. But yet, I was willing to be my authentic self. I was willing to stretch the barriers and have those challenges and have those conversations with mom and dad. But it was all about love. It was all about growth. And what I call AFGOs, another fine growth opportunity. That's what we do. We go through these paths of opportunity to expand and to grow and to learn. And we too say, no, it was not a good choice. And we begin again. It's funny, in the Greeks, they used to, when they would have plays, they wore masks. And they were all usually male. So the men would don women's masks, and the men with the men and the whole thing. And that's how they would create their characters. But not all masks are physical. They're not all physical. There are situations where the masks create this amazing way for us to hide. They create a way for our light that we have come here to be dimmed. Hiding what we think, others would accept. Why? Why do we do that? As they say in the Bible, we hide our light under a bushel. In fact, in Matthew 5:14 through 16, it says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl." Now, does that make sense? Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. Let your light shine before others. While it may appear to be safe, it becomes a problem. Because then what happens, we start identifying with all these different masks. And we create this wonderful wardrobe of masks. Well, let's see, who will I be today? So I'll wear the mask. When is it that we start closing the door? We say, I don't need those anymore. They don't support me. You ever think, I have this saying about safety, support. And if we don't feel safe, if we don't feel supported, what do? We usually walk away or we hide. Why? Because it's safety where we want to run to, because it's familiar. However, when we run and hide, we're actually failing to connect with others. We're failing to connect to the outside world. We're pushing it away. No, you hurt me. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. When instead, we should be facing what it is and say, bring it. I dare you, bring it. How strong, how much can I grow? Having the courage to be vulnerable and to drop the mask and let our light be seen and felt is a piece of operation and cultivation of our true authenticity. It is who we are. Ernest Holmes said, life is not just something to be endured. It is to be lived in joy in a fullness without limit. Can you imagine living your life without boundaries? Ooh, that might be scary. But it's freedom. It's living without fear, false evidence appearing real. It's allowing yourself to say, yes, this is the experience I want to have. Yes, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to be filled. Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one human in their life plays many parts. And I thought about that. You know, we're all on this stage of life. We're all actors in a different play every day. You know, I came in here and I thought, oh, what a beautiful venue to have this beautiful center. Especially I like the Nikki's Bar and Grill thing in the background. I thought that was very good. And what I understand is every week this beautiful congregation, these beautiful spirits walk into something different. So you all are constantly in this beautiful, beautiful, acceptance of, okay, who we are this week. And it's so wonderful to see the comfortableness in the transition. You know, when we step into something new and we're not quite sure what we're going to be invited to, it can be a positive or it can be a negative experience. We can talk negative all we want about it and give ourselves reasons why, and then we could flip it and say, you know what, I want a better experience. So I'm going to create and look for the good. I want to look for the really, 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 really good thing in this really, really, really bad situation. How do I do that? Well, consciousness, change. What did Ernest Holmes say? Change your thinking, change your life. That applies every single day to every single situation. Every single situation. You know, what masks do is they show the outside world, to the family, to friends or business partners, who we think we have to be. What happens is we are showing things like, I'm confident, I'm fine, I'm in charge, everything's good, I'm happy. But yet there's something within you that says, oh, you're such a liar. You're such a liar. So when we wear a mask of the confidence and authority and perfection, even with efficiency, when that is not what we are feeling, maybe we should go beyond ourselves and say, okay, what would it feel like for me to admit, no, I'm having a really bad day? Or, I really need some support from a practitioner. I need to go see that practitioner because right now I can't handle this by myself. And even though I know the presence of God, that divine presence is within me and I am always loved, I'm not feeling loved because I don't feel that I can be that person. Joseph Campbell, one of my favorite mythologists, he said, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. The deeper you go in the cave, the more vulnerable you become." And that's a good thing. The treasure is always there. We just have to release and let go of what our preconceived opinions are and say, no, I'm willing to go back there. And if there's a dragon and I get burned, it's okay. Because what am I going to, realize is I'm going to rise from the ashes. I'm going to be a whole new person. And boy, have I learned a lot of things. And this is awesome. Because I can be who I want to be. I don't have to pretend just to be okay in this world. Masks that we wear keep us tied to the past. All that luggage that we continue to schlep around. We just keep schlepping and schlepping. And why? Unpack those bags and say, you know what? I don't need this anymore. I'm done with this. Yeah, it was good for a time, but I don't need it. It just weighs you down. And when you release and you let go, it's amazing the feeling that you will have, the lightness you will feel. And you'll say, why the heck was I doing that for so long? It's to be or not to be. That is the question. So one of my favorite stories right now to tell about masks and conditions is a story about Bishop Carlton Pearson. I don't know if any of you have seen the movie right now that's on streaming, but it's called Come Sunday. If you haven't seen it, it's a wonderful movie. And it has to deal with this amazing man's journey. He was a very charismatic Pentecostal minister. And one day, he was looking at some films about some African children. And of course, in other faiths, they tend to preach and teach that you're going to hell if you don't repent. You know, all this, the sin, self-inflicted nonsense. All that stuff that they carry. A lot of guilt for being able to be loved by God. So there's a lot of fear around God loving them. And so one day he's seeing these beautiful children and he's thinking, my God, how can the God that I love and I know loves me not look at these children and say that they are saved? Because of course you have to be saved, what he was preaching and teaching. And he looked at these children and he said, they know nothing about being saved. And so he had what we would call his road to Damascus. He had his conversion. He went to a hotel for 2 weeks and he prayed and he read the Bible and he tried to find every reason he could, why this was. And when he emerged, he realized he was no longer in alignment with what he's been preaching and teaching. He couldn't tell the people you're going to hell. He couldn't tell them you're sinners. He couldn't tell them you're bad. All he could say was, wait a minute. My God, your God, the divine that I know lives within me is loving. So how could this beautiful, loving God condemn these children? That's not possible. And these children are so innocent, they know nothing about being saved or this guy named Jesus Christ. So he took a big step. And he stepped into his pulpit. And he started teaching love. He started teaching that there was no hell. What do you mean there's no hell? And people just, they were getting up in droves out of his Sunday talks and saying, no, there's hell. There has to be hell. And he was like, no, we can live authentically. We can be this. We don't have to be that. We can have this beautiful freedom and this loving relationship with the God of our understanding. And people would just leave. And eventually, what happened is he came before his I guess I don't want to call it a board, but it was the people that ran his denomination. And they put him on trial. And they said, how dare you not preach hell? And they too, you could see it in the questions. They were also kind of like, They were questioning, but they couldn't go there. So what happened is, yes, he was asked to leave. He was defrocked as a minister with that faith. He lost everything. He lost his home, his congregation, his church, everything that he knew for years. And he thought, who am I? But in order to step into his truth, in order to step into his authentic self, he had to be what he had to be, which was love. And eventually he realized, wait a minute, I can do this. I can do this in a different way. And I can do this where it aligns with who I am authentically, and I can teach love. And so he joined a new thought movement, the Unitarians, and he has a beautiful church called All Souls Church. And he began again, and he built another congregation. And he is living authentically. He stepped off a cliff, but yet God caught him. And that's what the divine does with us. And so, another real quick story is my husband and I have a friend who is no longer here on this plane, and his name is Byron Neese. And he was the love interest, Raoul, in the Phantom of the Opera. And so eventually he evolved after 18,000 performances to be able to wear the mask. And he said this. He said, I've long believed that one reason many people are fascinated, even obsessed, with the timeless story of the Phantom of the Opera is that we all have our demons. We all have a good angel and a bad angel, each trying to get our ear as we wrestle with our needs, desires, and obligations. With a phantom that disparately between light and dark is as clear as the mask on his face. Pure white hiding dark disfigurement. Childish, loving, petulant, controlling, gifted, creative, blindly alone, literally deformed and wanting desperately to be part of the world he could only observe at a distance. During his time as the Phantom and living in New York away from family and friends in California, it created a question for him. He wasn't living authentically. By wearing and removing the mask after every performance, he realized he was living life behind the mask. Our biggest obstacle as humans is constantly asking the question, what will others think? And you know, it's funny, when you get to the age of 40, you don't care. You just do it. But Byron stepped out and said, I'm a loving gay man. And that's who I am in this world. And that's who I have come here to be. And he got to the point where he says, I don't care how people react. I am who I am. And he was very successful up until the day he died. And just a beautiful, beautiful human being. But he decided to live authentically, and he took equally a giant leap of faith and said, this is who I am, and I will be it. It's amazing what happens when we live life authentically. I just want you all to know you have permission to live life authentically. So with practice, we step into our courage in deeper ways. And when we are vulnerable with those we trust, we're also inviting them to be vulnerable with us. So extend that invitation of vulnerability. It's okay. And get yourself a practitioner in the time too. So I want to close with these two. From Ernest Holmes. Any sense of guilt we have, any burden of the condemnation we entertain, or any mental state that weighs us down, hinders us from more fully experiencing the nature of spiritual reality. And Brené Brown says, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of the hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper and more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. It's going to be messy, but it's okay. It really is. So honor and love yourself as you begin to let your mask drop. You have skills that are all ready to navigate these new waters. It feels new. And yes, it's going to feel vulnerable. But you will always be okay, because the divine is love. And that's all it can ever be, is fall into the hands and the hearts of love. And so let's just close our eyes for a second here. Just allow ourselves to breathe. Just breathe. Knowing right here, right now, these walls contain us here as a community, as a beautiful spiritual community. But yet, they are part of our growth opportunities of expansion. We constantly change. We constantly are given the gifts of resources. Everything that we require is always available for searching or seeking what we require for spiritual nourishment. And what I understand and know for this beautiful spiritual community of Tucson, this beautiful Center for Spiritual Living Tucson, is they are a heart. They are a home that will continue to expand and love and grow and find out things about themselves and where they want to go and what they want to do. And it's just this amazing, beautiful opportunity of shift and change. And I know that there are no masks. It's already been released. It's already let go. Because now it's all about cultivating love. It's cultivating and planting the seeds that will continue to grow, continue to support everything that they require. And I am so grateful for this beautiful community as they live and grow and have their being. For all those that are here and present physically and all those that are present on Zoom, wherever they come into, to be able to be a witness to these hearts, because you are all part of this and so much more. So with a grateful heart, I just say thank you, God, for this beautiful community as they hold hands together and continue to build and grow and love. I release all the words into God's perfect law, God's perfection, the divine that works through all of us, as us, knowing that all is made manifest. And again, I just say thank you, God. Thank you for this divine presence that is within each one of us. As together we say, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you.